I'm Chris Dawes. I'm a member of the board of directors of the Summer Institute of Church Music. And today I'm speaking with Valerie Hall, who is our guest keyboard instructor for the 55th session of the Summer Institute of Church Music. The Summer Institute runs in Whitby, Ontario from July 6th to 9th. That's Monday to a Thursday. Valerie will be joining us as an instructor and to play in our closing concert. And I'm delighted that she's joining us this morning. So welcome, Valerie. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
All right. So, Valerie, people have been looking at your bio on the SICM website for some time, but I wanted to know, how would you like to introduce yourself to us?
Well, I'm primarily an organist. I think of myself, in terms of my identity, I always think of myself as an organist because I've done it for so long that I can't remember a time now when I wasn't seated on an organ bench for a lot of my time. But I'm also a singer. I trained as a solo singer and sing with an audition chamber choir here in Regina. And in one of my incarnations, I studied harpsichord, and so I do some continual playing with instrumental groups as well, either on organ or on harpsichord. I'm a teacher. I think that's the other big aspect of who I am as a person. I love teaching. I invested in all of my students and their progress, and I really enjoy, is seeing people's growth and inspiring people to want to play the organ mostly. I teach singing as well, and I'm very proud of that. But I really feel like my organ students are my special group. Um, and I really enjoy seeing their reaction to just what's possible with the instrument. I supervise a couple of organ scholars through the Anglican Cathedral here in Regina, and another one of my students I supervise at the Catholic Cathedral here in Regina. So at the moment, all of my organ students are also organ scholars, which means I get to talk to them about liturgical music as well as solo repertoire.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
You've referred to Regina a couple of times. You're a real
Mhm.
Westerner, aren't you? I know your
I am a
educationist.
real Westerner. Yes, I
Okay.
was born in Winnipeg and I lived for a few months in Brandon. And before I came to Regina, I lived in Saskatoon. I spent a lot of time, driving the prairies for academies in Calgary and Edmonton. So, yeah, I am a real Westerner.
Great. Well, it's wonderful to have you with us. Okay. So I'm wondering, you've made a tantalizing allusion to the fact that you can't remember a time when you weren't playing the organ, and I'm guessing that an awful lot of that has been in church. So tell us a little bit about the journey that's brought you to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I'm a bit of an anomaly, Chris, because I didn't start in church. I started with a home organ, back in the day when home organs were a thing, and I played in the Yamaha education system and ended up teaching for them and going to Japan and training in their system until I went to university. And my family didn't attend church. I like to attend church, so I would go, but I didn't really make the connection musically with the organ in church until I was in my undergraduate degree. And I studied with Lawrence Ritchie, who, was one of a large family of pastors. He was the black sheep because he was the musician. All of his brothers were pastors. His father was a
Uh,
pastor. So, of course, some of that rubs off. And during my undergraduate degree, I became the first organ scholar at St. John's College, which is the Anglican chapel on the University of Manitoba campus. So he had a big influence on me, and playing in that chapel had a big influence on me. And for a while, I sang in Lawrence's choir so that I could see how he did the things that he talked to me about. And after that, there wasn't a time when I didn't play in church after I graduated from my undergraduate degree. Um, I was in church, I think, every week for the next several decades. My master's is in church music as opposed to organ performance. So, Yeah, my relationship with the church goes back to my relationship as a professional musician in the church goes back to my undergraduate days. Um, and I would say I have served a great number of denominations as a church musician. I'm one of those people who has gone from denomination to denomination. So when I was in Winnipeg, I played for the Lutherans and the United Church. In Brandon and in Saskatoon, I played at the Anglican cathedrals. And then in Regina, I came to serve as the organist at the Catholic Cathedral. And now I'm kind of semi-retired from church. I do a job share at the Anglican Cathedral.
Right. Okay. Well, that's magnificent. It sounds like you have a breadth of experience
Mhm.
and a lot of large churches, but also probably some
Yeah.
smaller ones too.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
That's
Hmm.
great. Okay. Well, so you mentioned that you're a trained singer, and I've read that you are an instructor in voice as well as in keyboard at the
Hmm.
University of Regina Conservatory of Music. Uh, these two pillars, the keyboard instruments and the voice, are sort of the pillars of the Western musical tradition. Uh, what do you find they bring uniquely to the worship setting?
Well, the organ uh, is uniquely suited to accompany congregational song by the size of the instrument, the the volume of sound it can produce, and also the range of colors that it can produce. It's, as you know, it's more like having an orchestra at a keyboard than just having a single kind of keyboard sound, right? We have the ability to make sound at a variety of levels. And so, and an organ really fills the room in a way that no other instrument, even an amplified instrument, doesn't. Sound comes at you with amplification, right? Whereas an organ fills the crevices in the room, right? The sound is in the ceiling, it's behind you, it's in front of you, it's coming at you from different directions. So I think the organ is really, and because it's powered by wind, it's so suitable to singing, you know? I mean, for instrumental solos, almost anything can provide um, a voice to ornament liturgy. Almost any instrument, whether it's a flute or a guitar or whatever. But when it comes to accompanying song, I really feel like the organ has such an advantage. And part of it is because it's a breathing mechanism, right? It's wind powered. It's got this ability to kind of pull out in front and lead, but to do it in a way that isn't overwhelming or, painful to listen to. We don't have to crank it up to 11 to be heard, you know? We can just add another stop, or we can think about the scaling of the stops that we're using and how they're going to sound in the room and how they're going to support. So yeah, I feel like the organ is just the perfect instrument to play for hymns, to play at ordinations, where you've got a room full of people singing. I mean, those are thrilling moments. And singing, of course, it's the most natural, organic form of expression there is. So it's kind of the yin and the yang, isn't it? The organ as the powerful force underpinning the singing, but then the voice as the most intimate and personal expression for praise and worship, and the oldest. I mean, people have been praising God with their voice since they had a voice. It seems like a very natural thing for us to do. And it saddens me a bit that culturally it's become it's become a kind of issue that people sing less and are less confident singing in public. And that's why I think it's important that we have these academies and institutes that allow us to consider how to encourage people greater, because that's at the end of the day, that's our mission. Whether we're using our voice or a guitar or a piano or an organ, we're there for a collective experience. And the more that we can get people to participate in the singing, the better our collective experience.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. So looking forward to, of course, welcoming you to Whitby. We have a day dedicated mostly to your instruction, our keyboard day on Wednesday, July the 8th.
Mhm.
You and I have had a brief chat about what you would like to bring to that day. I wonder if you could share anything about that with our students and potential students that are watching us now.
Sure. Well, I think my focus is going to be on the last thing I said, which is how to use the keyboard instrument as a tool for encouraging the singing potential of the congregation. How to enhance that, how to support that, and allow people to feel confident singing without getting in their way and overpowering them, right? And that's a real delicate balance. And I think somebody who's played for a variety of congregations in a variety of settings has developed some instincts about that are worth sharing. And I think I can hopefully package that in a way that people will be able to grasp the concepts that I'm talking about. So that's one of the things, accompanying hymns and other liturgical items like psalms, choral responses, all of those items. Um, and then building a repertoire of solo pieces that enhance the various liturgies and how to go about doing that, how to pick music that's appropriate, how to learn that music, how to keep that music in your repertoire, and use it in a way that best supports the worship environment.
Right. Oh, well, that's great. And I'll just underline, as we've spoken about this, that we will be addressing both the use of the organ and the piano in the liturgical space, because we know most of our students do both and have different applications for both.
Mhm.
Okay, well, that sounds just great. And we have you performing as our recitalist in the closing concert on Thursday, July 9th. Can you tell us anything about what you'll share there?
Sure. There are three sets of organ pieces as the concert has been outlined to me, and I will be sharing with the choir, the chorale, sharing that program. So the organ repertoire will be in sort of in three chunks, and I'm planning to highlight Canadian repertoire that is appropriate for the worship environment. First composer whose works I will represent will be Tate Pumphrey, who's based just outside of Ottawa in Ontario. And Tate is a young man who has completed his training as an organist and as a composer. And he's working as an organ technician, which is very important to our business as well. But he's a very good composer, and he has a volume of short pieces, any of which I think, almost any of which would be suitable for the worship environment. So I'll highlight two or three of those in one of those sets. And another one, I'd like to bring some music from Regina. We have a very good composer in Regina by the name of David L. McIntyre. And David is a pianist by training, but plays the organ weekly at the Anglican Cathedral. I mentioned earlier, he and I kind of job share the organist position, but he does the lion's share of it. And he, over the decades that he's played at St. Paul's, he has written and self-published volumes of short organ pieces for himself to play in the worship service. And those are available through David. So I'm going to play two or three of those on the program as well. Um, as there's a lot of variety in that collection. So I'll pick a couple of my favorites, but I'm hoping to introduce people to these collections in the hope that they'll find some use and hopefully order them themselves. And then I'm hoping to play a big piece by the late great Richard Laurent, who was in residence at the Summer Institute one summer and is well known in Canada for her work as a composer and a great organist. So I commissioned a piece from Rochelle in, I think, 2019. I might be wrong on the date there. I'd have to look it up. It seems like yesterday, but a substantial piece that I would like to play in the third set. And so it'll be all Canadian content, all people that I know. It's lovely to play the work of your friends and to introduce people who maybe haven't heard works by these composers. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, well, that's wonderful, Valerie, and I do hope you come away from SICM with more friends, more new friends, and
Mm,
we're so much looking forward to your time spent with us.
thank you.
So thank you so much for your time this morning as we've been chatting, and we will see you in Whitby.
Excellent. Looking forward to it, Chris.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.